Welcome back once again, folks. We've got Game 2 of Johnny's Revenge versus MVP.Phoenix coming up here. What a dominant performance in the first match. Johnny's Revenge looking good at every turn, 28-3. The tri-lane built around the Tidehunter, shut down the Wisp quite successfully. Razor against the Tinker. It was just a massacre all over the place. I'm Zayori, joined once again by Blaze. And Blaze, my friend, what are you thinking here coming into Game 2?
I think we need to see a new version of MVP.Phoenix. They have so many different strategies that they've employed over the past several months to gain the standing and reputation that they have to this point. But most of it is central around taking the early game and approaching the big game with a huge gold advantage. It means bringing down towers readily. It means global presence like they attempted with the Wisp. And the big important thing of that is not to get too greedy. In this situation, they have a great Ember Spirit player, they've got a great Tinker player, and the Void, it's Flavor of the Month, it would have worked out fine, but not all three on the same team. So they're going with something a little bit more active here. The Razor's going to start them out, and we'll see where it brings them to. But, of course, in turn, Johnny's Revenge get to pick up Winter's Tide, as per the usual, and this time around the Ancient Apparition.
Yeah, a little bit different. The AA first pick. We've seen Ancient Apparition mixed in a little bit in terms of teams that really want to run an aggressive tri-lane, or mostly when you have a Faceless Void and you're looking for damage to dump into the Chrono. Some teams, like Smash, for example, they love to run that core Venomancer with the support Ancient Apparition for those big shatters in the team fights with all that poison damage. And with that said, MVP.Phoenix will go ahead and take Faceless Void as, well, a good pick and also a bit of a deny to deal with that Ancient Apparition. But I wonder, Johnny's Revenge, I feel like they have to have a trick up their sleeve to be first picking the AA like that.
Yeah, there's two ways to look at it. Either they're going for the Imba Meepo pick that is so crazy enhanced by Chilling Touch, or more likely they're just looking at the fact that Razor is a very limited hero when he has a static health pool. He relies a lot on getting heals from some source, whether it be a mechanism that he himself picks up or just allied heals, allied sustain. If he drops down and shatters or it just doesn't gain any HP, a single Ravage Ice Blast should be enough to take him out of the fight very early on. It's how you kind of look at a Death Prophet as well. So there's that aspect. The only other crazy synergy I can think of would be if they go for a core Venomancer, which would be really good with Poison Nova, Ice Blast. Otherwise, it doesn't seem to merit a first pick. Certainly a draft pick, but definitely not a first one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And wow, MVP.Phoenix, they'll ban out the Treant here. It was an integral part of their strategy last game, and I don't know if Johnny's Revenge would have gone for it quite the same way that they did, but at the very least, throwing MVP.Phoenix off their game, and now they're altering their banning game a bit here, and we'll see what that opens up for old JR there on the Dire side, Morphling, the fourth ban from MVP.Phoenix.
Yeah, to this point, Sharky's Shadow Shaman has still been in the pool, and I'm really surprised that that's the case. I mean, they didn't pick it up. That hasn't been banned in Phase 1 or Phase 2. Shadow Shaman has been like the support hero to pick up for almost every team and almost every meta, but at this point, we're going into ban number 4, about to enter Phase 2, and he has not been mentioned whatsoever.
Yeah, that's something. The Warlock first ban is what throws things amok a little bit because, you know, usually he's totally ignored, so that does open up some extra space on the board that otherwise wouldn't be there, I suppose. And Rubik banned out for Johnny's Revenge here, so pretty standard stuff against the Tidehunter, as we've seen. Rubik is... he's just damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. A very powerful pick against this team and with this team, and it's just something that they do not want to deal with, but it really is going to show whether the draft is an extremely unorthodox one, one that maybe Winter and Johnny collaborated on to try to figure out the best way to make it happen, or if it is just going to be kind of a standard, but they win about it in an awkward way. Draft, and that's going to be, do they pick up Shadow Shaman here? No, they go for something very different. Wraith King can be played in a core role or in a supported role in this sense here, and there's value in both. Obviously, the Wraith King Wraithfire Blast is the best stun to set up a Cold Feet, because not only does it have the stun effect, but also the slow after the fact. So even at level 1, you can guarantee like 4 or 5 seconds of stun coming out against their opponent, and that's really powerful. And the cool thing is you don't have to worry whether that's support or carry. As long as you're in the same lane, you're happy.
10 seconds remaining.
And they could gear up for either a Mirana pick here or a Shadow Shaman, and I think either one would be great to pair with the Ancient Apparition and Wraith King in either a safe lane try or an aggressive try lane. So much kill potential between those heroes. Whether it's a farming Mirana or a farming Wraith King. There's the Shadow Shaman pick for MVP Phoenix. So the sought-after hero, but again, a bit of a die pick here as well. Johnny's Revenge, they haven't been running too much Mirana. Have we seen them run Mirana at all? I'm struggling to recall all the picks that they've had now. But
not that I've seen so far, but
yeah.
Chibi used to main Mirana as his primary hero to go to on his previous team. So we're going to see it here, and I believe it is going to be maybe a support Wraith King and a core Mirana. His Chibi just, if there's ever a time to use YOLO in a broadcast in any semblance of professional capacity, it's got to be with Chibi. This guy can go like so deep and so insanely aggressive with this hero because he knows the limits of it to a T. So yeah. I really think there's a lot of potential here if they go for the core Mirana and then have the other two as the ones supporting him.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And the Wraithfire Blast, as you mentioned, very good to proc the Cold Feet for Ancient Apparition, but also great for setting up Mirana arrows because that slow makes it a little more difficult to sidestep even if the arrow isn't right there to stagger the stuns directly. And, of course, having a ranged carry is also good when you're talking about Chilling Touch in the mix. So all around, just a lot of synergy between those three heroes. Now, MVP Phoenix, they go with the 4th pick Juggernaut here. And one of the classic lane pairings with the Shadow Shaman. You've got the Disables to pair with the Blade Fury for some nice early game aggression in the lane. But I guess there's some synergy with Juggernaut and the Faceless Void. We talked about it yesterday. You can Omni Slash through the Chrono, so that is some damage to dump into it. But he can't get off those auto attacks, and depending on where he lands with the Omni Slash, he ends up getting stuck in the Chrono afterwards.
Yeah, I think the biggest aspect is immunity to magic. Having that naturally in a hero that contributes a little bit more actively than Lifestealer does is really important here. You see a Ravage coming, an Ice Blast en route, Wraithfire Blast, or even an arrow. All of those can be predicted and then responded to by spinning out, and that will enable you to actually have some longevity in the fights. I'm not sure if Healing Ward's going to be all that relevant because, as we mentioned, Ancient Apparition's ultimate does prevent healing from occurring for its duration, but all the same, it's still a good, sustainable push thing, and I'm actually curious how it's going to be played out. It seems Winter agrees with me that this is probably a supportive Juggernaut, because they're not going to be picking up a core Viper in a circumstance otherwise.
Certainly right, and they have done this before. The position for Juggernaut is another one of their kind of pocket strats, which is probably a fairly safe assumption here, especially with Faceless Void and Razor running Juggernaut as a core. Could probably get away with it, but I don't know if it's more likely to see Razor in the mid or see him as the safe lane position 1.
I think MVP Phoenix ban here was very smart, taking out the Invoker from Polasun. It would have been devastating if they were able to get this draft with the Invoker in touch with it. Still, Polasun will be able to pick up a Death Prophet, and that will provide them some nice push potential, as well as more damage to dump into their Ravage initiation. But all the same, I really do think that if they had the Invoker, then MVP Phoenix would just be at a loss for ways to deal with all these threats. The Death Prophet at least can be managed with, if you focus her down with the Omni Slash, Ether Shock, things like that, she should be able to be handled with the right mentality.
Yeah, Johnny's Revenge have a really good mix of control, utility, and team fight. Once they group up, they've got those huge AoE ultimates and the Exorcism and the Ravage. They've got great lanes, and they have some silence and a fair amount of stuns as well. Just a pretty well-rounded draft. MVP Phoenix, maybe it'll all come together with this final pick, and it's a Slark that they opt for here.
Well, no, I honestly don't like it. Like, I'm trying to think of ways it works, and the only thing that it really has going for it is there's not that much ground target disable. There's only the Anger Smash for mitigation and the Ravage for actual disable. Other than that, maybe an arrow, but usually that would be considered point blank, which is a very low stun. The reason I don't like it is because you're up against an Ancient Apparition, which prevents his passive healing. There's still a lot of damage-based AoE. The Crypt Swarm, where I mentioned the Tide Hunter. It's just, he has potential. And QO Slark, I've seen it work a number of times, but unless they really gain momentum, like we were talking about last game, they're just going to be finding themselves in a very similar situation. Juggernaut's not one of those supports that does much more than deal some damage until much later in the game.
Yeah. You know, some folks will go so far as to say that Ancient Apparition is a counter-pick worthy against Slark, against a really strong Slark player. So MVP Phoenix picking the Slark into an AA shows their confidence with that hero. And like you said, the QO Slark has Been sort of tried and true in the past. Will it work here? Well, I suppose the answer to that question will be coming up throughout the duration of this match. But here we go. MVP.Phoenix, 1 game away from elimination, and Johnny's Revenge. If they win this one, they'll be facing off against Titan in the grand finals coming up tomorrow night here in the WEC SEA online qualifier. Johnny's Revenge starting off with a 5-hero invade into the Radiant jungle. They're smoked up and they are hungry for blood. Boots first on the Wraith King. Wraithfire Blast skilled up. They bump into March. That reveals just Johnny's smoke. And they will continue to press forward, still hoping to find someone. Horizon and QO, not particularly easy targets to bring down. Probably QO a bit easier. And now they'll be unsuccessful in their smoke efforts.
Yeah, interesting that they really wanted to get this ward down here to block off the central hard camp. I don't really know if they would be taking advantage of that so much with their current team composition. But I suppose it's better to kind of have a good overall vision of when supports are rotating from the safe lane to the mid lane and vice versa, and try to keep tabs on that while also getting a nice little extra block on top of that. But yeah, the one thing I've got to say, though, is it is pretty nice for them to be able to respond to all these chain disables so effectively with the spin, with the either Slark can go for the Dark Pact or in some cases the Pounce to avoid the impact of spells. They should be able to respond from that focus at the very least.
And speaking of YOLO here, our man Chibi on the Mirana will pick up a double damage rune to get things started as he heads down towards the bottom lane. Sacred Arrow already skilled up. It will be an aggressive tri-lane from Johnny's Revenge, Sharky on the Ancient Apparition, and Johnny will be on the Wraith King. At least Paulison in the mid on the Death Prophet here, up against a dual lane for now, and that's Winter in this safe lane once again on the Tidehunter. Now, can they do anything with this double damage rune? If they can connect with an arrow, should be an easy first blood, but they'll scout it out, and Chibi, he will indeed be farming up a storm here and get some easy last hits out of the gate.
And on the top lane, it's going to be a matchup of Winter's Tidehunter versus Ferev's Faceless Void. In general, I think Winter's going to get a little bit more out of this lane. His Anchor Smash is going to hit him a lot of the time, and although the damage is partially negligible, the fact that he will continuously be able to inhibit Faceless Void's right-click potential has got to be extremely frustrating. He's actually going to pick up a Magic Stick right now.
Yeah. And interesting.
Oh, down bottom.
Oh, down bottom.
Nice.
Ooh. Yep.
That was actually really cool.
Heen was rotating towards mid. I thought he was going to gank Paulson, but he actually started Ether Shock level 1 instead of Shackles.
Yeah, it's a very cost-effective spell just to hit on one single here and arrest him back. Paulson wouldn't be nearly this low of HP without that. So he's cast it on him 2 or 3 times, and he is making it very difficult for the Death Prophet, but until level 2, he's not going to have any legitimate kill potential.
And down bottom, aggression continues as Johnny and Sharky move around and prevent the pull from happening. Actually, they'll do, as I say that, he'll do the pull himself. They want to pressure this tower, I guess.
It would seem to be the case, yeah. I mean, they are moving Sharky into a position where he will take a lot of damage, but Raisin with the spin will dodge out the stun. Can they close in on Sharky? He's taking the hit, and that might be the second blood, but the first already spilled.
Yep, but looks like Heen overstepped his bounds. I completely missed it. Paulson picks up a solo kill as we were watching that skirmish break out in the Radiant jungle. But whatever it is that Johnny's Revenge were up to with this pull, obviously backfired on them. And, I mean, is it really worth it to do the pull for your enemy to try to shove into the tower? That's sort of an atypical play in that scenario.
Yeah, I'd consider it situational at best, and the fact that it was stacked makes it, in my opinion, a bad move, but it's hard to tell what exactly is going through their heads at that point in time. The end result, though, is they lose out on Sharky's first life. That's quite unfortunate, but no complete surprise. Heen is forced out, still level 1, and is going to have to rotate up to help out on the top lane.
Yeah.
Now, one interesting thing about starting items that we get to look at for MVP.Phoenix. Last game, both Heen and Raisin got to go for boots first, but because of the requirements of the team to get the wards down, to just get in general supplement their early game, Heen has gotten this bare bones build with just tangos and clarities and finds himself extremely immobile.
Yeah, Rasta is already a really slow hero, and when he gets crippled early on and can't get boots, and it just gets worse from there. If he gets brown boots right as everyone else is upgrading their boots, then he has that same plight that he starts with, being just that slow Shadow Shaman. Still good news for Johnny's Revenge, though, is that Paulson drew the first blood before they had that unfortunate feed from Sharky. So They still got kind of the better of that exchange around the map, and everyone goes right back to farming. Slark is the last hit leader right now, so MVP.Phoenix doing okay to get started, and has a pretty big leg up over this Death Prophet, despite DP grabbing the first blood bonus gold.
Yeah, the RNG on this 4-minute rune is pretty big here. If Polasan gets it on the bottom spawn and it's covered by Sharky, he'll be so much better off than the Slark will be. So Polasan could do that right now. They'll get the Invis rune, and yeah, Sharky is probably gonna have to bottle crow. So it's just in general, he won't be as active on the lane, and I think that means Death Prophet will catch up on CS.
Yeah,
down bottom though.
QO rather is gonna bottle crow. Yeah. Chibi, yeah, takes another static link. Razor being very aggressive down here with it, as he well should, but still has not been able to yield a kill. 12-3 versus the 15-5 Mirana. That is Razor versus Mirana, rather. So still a pretty even spread. Invisibility rune on Johnny. Looking for initiation and hoping to find a kill onto March, but maybe they'll settle for Ryzen as Sharky comes in. There's the Wraithfire Blast, point-blank arrow, and more than enough to bring down the Razor. Now the Blade Fury from Ryzen doing a lot of damage here. Chibi will survive the duration, and Wraithfire Blast, not enough mana for it. Still 10 short. Ryzen doesn't have a TP scroll, can't afford it. How unfortunate. And he will fall as he moves into the trees. Double kill for Sharky on that Ancient Apparition.
Yeah, so nice little pick off there. The Invis is what set them up. Otherwise, so far, Juggernaut has been running as a complete blocker for March in these situations. Whenever one stun comes through, the Juggernaut moves in front of March and spins the arrow. As of like you would with a Visage Familiar. So he's able to block out the arrows, and so far has evaded death, but that one they didn't see coming with the Invis rune.
Yeah, certainly not. And they actually should have. There's Radiant Vision of that bottom rune. They have a ward down, so they should have saw that coming, or at least been privy to the fact that Wraith King had picked up an invisibility. But everyone will just go back to farming here as they've recovered. Let's check in on the top lane, the Faceless Void versus the Tide, as you mentioned. A little one-sided for the Tide Hunter, and he will pull ahead. 27 last hits compared to the 15 of the Void. We'll see Sharky once again. He really likes this pull camp, and he'll take a Blade Fury to the face. Now he's picked up boots, so he's a little more speedy, but he's in deep, and will just try to suicide into the tower to prevent a hero kill. It will be credited to the Radiant instead of the Juggernaut, so I guess that's a small victory, but still awkward positioning from this Ancient Apparition.
Yeah, the gold is split two ways between Raisin and Heen, so that means that the Shajama will finally find his boots of speed, and therefore we should actually see some Shackles connecting in the near future.
Yeah, that's something. Steps in the right direction. Still don't really understand what Sharky's plan was moving forward like that.
I don't.
That's
that guy. Sometimes he's like always in the right position. You're like, oh my gosh, how did he get that flank? How did he find that opening? But other times you're like, what are you doing there, man? And it's just, it's really hard to tell. There's a lot of variance involved.
Yeah. Especially against the Juggernaut. He's just not a fun hero to run into the darkness because Blade Fury, once he gets on top of you, there's not really so much you can do. Forev down bottom, time walks forward, drops the Chrono on the Chibi, and the 3v1 will be enough to secure the kill. Forev actually grabs the last hit. So his first rotation from the top lane proves successful and shuts down the position 1 of Johnny's Revenge.
Yeah, we'll have to see the kind of parallel impact of Tidehunter. Winter has his Ravage available and has kind of the same impact when you consider his potential alongside the Chronosphere. So yeah, I'm curious if there's going to be a rotation here, if Tidehunter can hold off this tier 1 pushdown on the bottom, and if they can try to turn things around. Right now they're lacking the Ice Blast, which is quite unfortunate. Sharky down to level 3. With his 2 deaths, but yeah, it looks like the tier 1's just going to fall, and without much contest other than some trade in the mid.
Yeah, big rotation from MVP. Their entire team will secure this tower kill. Dire Glyph comes out, will delay them as an arrow flies through. QO dodges it as it hits a creep in the face. Mid lane, tower down pretty low. Death Prophet level 8 with no exorcism. Sort of a different take on the Death Prophet, a level 9 ultimate. If he had it here, this would be an easy tower kill. They may still get it, but won't come nearly as easily as it would have if that exorcism was online. Chibi will get initiated upon QO. Misses the pounce, and actually doesn't connect with any of that Dark Pack damage either. Now him and Ryzen in kind of an awkward position. Ryzen does have a TP scroll. Moonlight Shadow deployed. Sharky trying to path block. He can Blade Fury and try to TP home, but he's got to do it soon. There's the Blade Fury, and he'll just give up on the TP. He doesn't have the mana for it. Oh, you were right. Yeah, there you go.
185 is required for the spin TP, and unfortunately he does not have it. So that is a a decent death because he is level 5 and because he actually wants to kind of transition to this semi-carry role set. But all the same, they keep their tower up. And going over the Death Prophet skill build, I 100% agree with you. This is awkward as can be. Not only does he pick up the 4th point in Crypt Swarm over Witchcraft, which is just extremely mana inefficient, but not having the exorcism at this stage, it just... There's a lot of value in it that is lost.
Yeah, I mean, they would have had this tower easily. And, I mean, it also harbors some of their potential team fight now. Ravage is online. Winter's moving around. He's ready to kill. And certainly you can grab some kills with Crypt Swarm, but if you want to commit to a team fight, Exorcism is where it's at. March will take a Wraithfire Blast. The wraparound is coming from Johnny's Revenge. And zoom out here and see Winter on the other side of the tree line. Ravage ready and waiting. Sharky right next to him. And interestingly enough, Sharky not going for Cold Feet. We'll hold that thought, though, as Forev finds them both. Connects on 2 with the Chrono. Starts laying into the Ancient Apparition. Winter throws the Ravage. Connects on 4. Where's the follow-up, though? No one's in position. He'll take a Hex. And Forev, now silenced. All 5 heroes from MVP have joined the party. QO off the mark with the Pounce. Faceless Void will fall to the Crypt Swarm. Rising comes in. Big Blade Fury. Spins around and will finish off the Wraith King, but at the cost of his own life. Winter falls now. It's a 2-for-2 trade as QO hops forward. Finds Paulison and will bring him down as he connects on the Pounce. Chibi will be forced to leap away. And that's it. Chibi falls. It's a 2-for-4. Wow. Death Prophet finally hits level 9 and grabs the ultimate. But really could have used it there.
Yeah, MVP are the little scrappers here. They're finding the opportunities where they can make the most of very little. They don't really have that much right-click damage from these heroes that require so much time to scale. But okay, Sharky going to be picked off by QO's aggression. And not even requiring the Omni Slash for it.
Yeah, Haste Rune makes that a pretty easy kill, and they ping out the top lane. They see Johnny farming. Johnny has now hit level 6, so he has Reincarnation, but they can probably kill him twice if no support comes his way. Void hops in to initiate. QO with the Haste Rune still on, will connect on a Pounce, as well as a Dark Pack. Moonlight Shadow flies, there's the Reincarnation. Johnny comes back to life, but you don't get to keep the Moonlight. Oh no, that would have been an easy escape if Moonlight Shadow was deployed right now, but it'll seal his deal as he falls, and Faceless Void gets another kill up on the scoreboard. They do grab the tier 1 tower in the mid lane, but if they had just waited on that Moonlight Shadow, I think the Wraith King would have survived. There is no detection on the Radiant side. Well, Heen has some, but he was not there.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's 2 ultimates misused. The Wraith King for skilling up his ultimate in the first place, because you can just hold on to that point and not waste a 3-minute cooldown for absolutely no purpose. And then the Shadow, for once he had the second life, he could have actually escaped. At least the second time around.
Oh no, another wasted ultimate. Wow, he pops the Exorcism, dies just seconds later, doesn't even do any damage to these heroes. And now this will be a top tier 1 tower that MVP will be rewarded with. 2-to-1 in total tower count, but it's the opposite of last game. MVP starting to roll over Johnny's Revenge.
Yeah, well on their way to bring this to a game 3, but it's not over yet. JR still has a lot of potential. We just have yet to really see it. Ancient Apparition trying to farm up as level 5. And yeah, these ultimates have not been great. Now, the reason Death Prophet didn't skill up her ultimate sooner was because of what just happened. She was afraid that she was going to get bursted down too hard, going for this Yule's Rush build, where she doesn't have any real raw HP. But all the same, when you get the opportunity on a tower, it's a lot more effective than when you're going in 1v3. So just comes down to implementation, and in this case here, it's actually going to be a Chrono to bring down Pulsar once again.
Oh, even an Omni Slash used to secure that one nice and quick. Johnny will TP in. He doesn't have an ultimate. He'll TP to his death. Slark secures that one, a quick 2-for-0. Now Chibi and Sharky joining the battle. Ravage from Winter. Maybe they can start to turn it around. They'll find Forev. Right clicks laying in, but it doesn't matter. Ancient Apparition falls. And now Chibi will get chopped down as QO connects with the Pounce. They will turn it around on him. Murata will end that for an additional spree. But she goes down shortly after, and it's a 1-for-4. Certainly not the fight that Johnny's Revenge are looking for. Heen, not even there, drops the wards in the bottom lane, and at the very least, MVP will grab a Tier 2 tower following another successful fight.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. If they didn't use the healing ward just now, maybe they could have even gone for Roshan, but at this point, they don't need it to be in a commanding position in this game. 15-7, you look at the golden experience graphs. They are just snowballing out of control on heroes that, by and large, scale indefinitely harder than what JR can bring. In fact, if you actually look at JR's lineup as far as, like, let's say, hyper late game 50 to 60 minutes, the hardest carry is their support Wraith King with his crit mechanic. Everybody else, they don't really have any substantial mechanics that scale with, like, different coefficients and such. It's just getting good items and farming quickly.
Yeah, I can't help but feel like Johnny's Revenge didn't make the most out of this tri-lane. The Ancient Apparition is level 5. He didn't skill Cold Feet at all. Usually, you could make a case that, or sometimes rather, you could make a case that Cold Feet's not worth it, but we spent a lot of time talking about this tri-lane, the potency of getting free Cold Feet stuns, and they didn't even use it to its fullest potential. So that is, I feel like part of what's costing them here is that their tri-lane that had so much potential was really lackluster.
Yeah, I think one mentality aspect of that is that if the target isn't magic immune, that you can just kill them off with the Chilling Touch anyways, because you're going to have the stun into arrow, most likely. Oh, nice dodge by Sharky. QL could have had another freebie there with that Blink Dagger. But anyways, Sharky kind of assumes that if they're hitting with the Wraithfire Blast, they're hitting with the arrow, and that means that they don't need the Cold Feet whatsoever. Oh, Yule's into arrow. That's a cool combo, but Forev will be able to dodge away from it on the bottom lane.
Yeah, and I was going to ask what the advantage to doing this kind of pseudo race car build of phase boots straight into Yule's is, because as you mentioned, you don't have a lot of stats. Maybe we'll hold that thought as QO gets aggressive once again, misses the leap, Moonlight Shadow deployed, but Chronosphere's there. It'll reveal Johnny 20 seconds until the ultimate cools down. They bring him down with an Omni Slash. Paulison wants to TP home. No first hit bash for Forev, and the TP will be successful. Again, Heen with the split push. Wards come down in the mid lane. Tier 2 tower falls. Paulison comes in, pops the ultimate, gets hexed right away. Goes on to Heen. They will bring him down. Tower has fallen. No deny inbound. And it will be Chibi and March going blow for blow. Eye of the Storm doing a lot of damage. Chibi on the back foot. He will survive for now as Paulison gets taken down. Winter with a Ravage, but he'll fall shortly after. Down goes Chibi and Sharky, the last one alive after this little skirmish. The Pounce connects at max range. And again, MVP.Phoenix find a huge team fight, a tower kill, and a 2 for 4.
This is just almost completely out of control for them. There it is, the GG, and 100% justified.
I agree. Wow, what a series this has been. 2 very one-sided, very quick games. Where does this leave us, Blaze? Game 3. What happens? Who wins? The immovable object meets the unstoppable force.
Yeah, to some degree, it's too close to call. In this position, you look at each game individually and you say, whoever won that game will win the next one. But it's absolutely not true. It really comes down to who goes into it underestimating their opponents the least. I feel like in the first game, MVP absolutely underestimated JR's potential to survive, sustain, and just be durable in the face of their aggression. And in this case here, JR, their usage of their ultimates, their usage of their cooldowns showed that they didn't pay enough respect to what MVP could accomplish with their own abilities. You look at MVP's draft and you say, yeah, after 15, 20 minutes, that'll be pretty scary. This was 5, 10, 15 minutes in, and they were getting duo chronos that netted them so many easy kills, and they pull ahead with essentially a 3-carry lineup in 15.5 minutes.
Yeah. Very impressive play indeed, guys. That was game 2. We have one more match coming up tonight. Both of our semifinals best of 3s going to an ace match. That's the way we like it. I'm Zyori, joined remotely by Blaze. Thanks for watching BTS1. We'll have a quick break, guys. The conclusion of this semifinals. The winner moves on to face Titan. The loser eliminated empty-handed. The conclusion after this break.